Somewhere along your spiritual path, perhaps after a breakthrough insight or a deep personal collapse, something within you shifted. You saw it all: the illusions, the patterns, the noise, and then silence. At first it felt powerful, liberating, like you'd finally broken through. But over time that sense of meaning began to fade, not dramatically, quietly, like your soul slowly turned down the volume on life and never turned it back up. You stopped chasing, you stopped caring, not recklessly, but with a kind of soft, existential sigh. And then came the question, whispering louder and louder, why do I feel numb now that I finally see the truth? It's a paradox few talk about. We're told spiritual awakening should ignite passion and purpose. But for many, especially the introspective, the empaths, the seekers, it does the opposite. It empties us. I remember a friend, deeply spiritual and devoted to the works of Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Krishnamurti. She went through a dark night of the soul and emerged awakened, aware of the illusion of ego, the futility of chasing validation. And yet, 2 months later, she was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. I used to cry over not achieving enough, she told me. Now I don't care if I do anything at all. I thought awakening would light me up, not leave me like this. Jung saw this coming. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, understood this phase long before it had spiritual branding. He didn't speak in buzzwords, but he knew the unconscious becoming conscious was no easy feat. Enlightenment doesn't come by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. It sounds poetic until you live it, because awakening isn't the end. It's the beginning of a psychological death. The structures that once gave your life meaning, career, goals, identity, even time itself, begin to collapse. You're not depressed, you're not lazy, you're in between. You've woken up from something, but haven't woken into something else. Jung knew the ego doesn't vanish after awakening. It becomes disoriented, it's lost its map, and without a new one, motivation disappears. This is not depression, it's a sacred pause. What you're feeling isn't failure, it's not clinical depression or anxiety, it's something ancient, something sacred. Jung warned that modern culture avoids this phase at all costs. We're conditioned to fear the void, to keep moving, producing, performing. But this space, this sacred stillness, is necessary for individuation, the process of becoming your true self. The self that isn't shaped by approval or ambition, but by authenticity. No one tells you about this part. This isn't the part of the journey that makes it into the glossy Instagram reels. It doesn't look like meditating in Bali or writing poetic quotes under golden sunsets. It looks like silence, disorientation, sitting on your floor while the world keeps spinning. Jung would say, "You're not lost, you're in limbo." The ego has been stripped, but the self hasn't yet fully emerged. Why your drive vanished. For most of your life, your motivation came from your ego, the persona, the image you built to be accepted by society. You chased success, approval, security. That's not wrong, it's part of being human. But awakening dissolves the mask. Suddenly your goals no longer fit. They belong to a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. It's like stepping off a stage and forgetting your lines. You're not unmotivated. You've simply outgrown the fuel that once drove you. Jung taught that we're not meant to destroy the ego, but to integrate it, to align it with the deeper self. And that self doesn't chase. It expresses. It doesn't strive. It resonates. The hermit phase. Death before rebirth. This in-between state is a rite of passage. In myths, it's the cocoon phase, the gooey, formless mess between caterpillar and butterfly. It's the hermit in the tarot, the sacred retreat, the descent before the return. And yes, goo doesn't hustle, it dissolves. The ego panics. It wants action, labels, direction. But the self whispers, let go. I'm building something deeper. This is where much of modern spirituality misses the mark. We're told to chase high vibes, follow joy, manifest harder. But Jung would say, if you skip the darkness, you skip the gold. Shadow work, the integration of your repressed and uncomfortable parts, is not optional. It's the curriculum. In this sacred stillness, your psyche begins to metabolize what's been buried. Your inner compass gets recalibrated, and slowly something returns. Jungian, a new kind of motivation. But it's different now, not frantic, not performative, not rooted in proving your worth. It's quieter, soul-led, like remembering something old and true. This is what Jung called yet the emergence of the self. Not as a theory, but as a living compass. You stop forcing your way forward. You start following resonance. The to-do lists, the 5-year plans, the hustle culture, they no longer move you. Not because you're broken, but because you're no longer chasing carrots you don't care about. When the self begins to lead, you don't act out of fear of missing out. You respond to what feels real. You're drawn to create, to serve, to heal. Not for applause, but because your soul whispers, yes. This is soul-fueled movement. This is living symbolically, not in fantasy, but with presence. You trust your dreams, your gut, your synchronicities. You participate with life instead of trying to dominate it. From chasing to expressing, you ask different questions now. Not, what should I do, but what's quietly calling me? Not, how do I get ahead, but what feels honest? Not, how can I prove myself, but what feels aligned? Your ambition transforms into devotion, to truth, to presence, to becoming whole. And the irony? That kind of soul-led energy gets more done than ego ever could. But now it's sustainable, it's grounded, because it's not about proving, it's about expressing. And expression is eternal. The real beginning. So if you've been feeling numb, still, or lost in the wake of awakening, know this. The old fire had to burn out for you to find a deeper flame. Jung never promised the path would be easy, but he knew it was worth it. This isn't the end of your awakening. It's the beginning of your becoming. If this resonated with you, if it helped name something you've been silently navigating, drop a comment. I'd love to hear your journey. And if you're someone who craves deep, grounded wisdom about the soul, psyche, and awakening, subscribe to Gnostic Enigma. We're here to make the invisible visible and support you through every strange, beautiful phase of your becoming. Because awakening isn't the final chapter, it's where the real story begins.